So, as you can tell, things have changed just a teeny tiny bit. For starters, road up to the cabin used to go right here. It doesn't anymore. These days, you need to go up in this direction. Oh, blackberries. So yeah, after the logging company mangled the old road, I had to build a new one, and sort of, yeah, used quite a bit of the loose mass that they just dumped all over the place to pick up some cobbles and basically build a road out of that. Now, technically, these things are not mine. This is not my property, because I would have demolished this asbestos-ridden dump hole a long time ago. But right there, we are on what would be considered my property. And as you can see, this is sort of the spot where I dump off a lot of the junk I find in various piles, or the Norwegian equivalent of Craigslist. Aluminium, steel, glass windows, barrels. Oh, but I want to show you this thing. Can you guess what it is? Well, I can say that it's related to the festival I've been having each year. I made a toilet out of a stump. Ugh, spiders. So beneath, I just dug up a giant hole. This is a stump. I used the chainsaw, made a hole straight through it, and this is just a toilet seat that sits on top. Also, the entire thing sits on a pair of sleds, so that if we by some miracle manage to fill this thing up to its brim, we could just take the excavator and pull the whole thing over a bit and dig up a new hole. Huh? Huh? Pretty neat. Beats most festival toilets I've been on. So in one of my earlier videos after moving into the woods, I cut down this tree. Also made this wooden throne. But yeah, like the intention was sort of trying to save this pear tree, and lo and behold, what's this? Oh, fuck yeah. That actually was so fucking good. Well worth the time. Another early project, which I didn't film. Honestly, I don't film most of the things I do. There's a lot of experiments and stuff like that I sort of don't think that, yeah, this isn't worth an entire YouTube video. Like, there's quite a bit of effort in editing. But yeah, and there's woven fence. It's sort of made to protect the berry bushes somewhat. But as you can also see, I sort of forgot to trim the grass on the inside. Well. So, another thing that has changed is certainly the potato field and the trees that I've cut down myself, which are quite a few. But honestly, these days I don't have to cut them down anymore because the wind takes care of it for me. Because the logging company that took down the trees on the neighbor's property stripped everything. My trees have never seen a gust of wind, so now I'm dealing with the consequences, typically. But yeah, potato field, starting to become a bit overgrown, but we're, well, into the fall. Oh, I should probably tell a story about the tree you saw laying in the past video. So it was actually one of the first things I did, because it used to be the case that it was coming straight out of here. Well, guess what? That's also exactly on the corner but I had some help from a few mates. And so I first cut the wedge on this side, where I put a rope, and we had some snatch blocks, which they were pulling like madmen. And I was carefully, so after making the wedge on this side, I left quite a big hinge in the middle, and then just carefully started working my way from the other side. And while they were pulling, they were sort of, ah, but eventually it came crashing. And as you can see, it did knock a bit of the cladding off, but yeah, could have been a lot worse. Yeah, the road is already starting to become a bit overgrown. This is the way you used to come up. Not anymore. That's the excavator. Still haven't managed to get it running. Yeah, this road is mostly made from from the mass that I collected when I made this pond, which was also one of the early projects. As you can see, it's quite a lovely little pond. It didn't used to be this big. It has had, what should I say, iterations. Oh, look, dragonfly. That's cool. But yeah, I dug up a much smaller pond, but of course, being the trees right next to it, when they saw a gust of wind, tumbled over. So there was one standing right there, blew over, one standing right there, blew over, and there was one standing all the way over where you guys saw at, which blew over. I haven't completely dealt with that one. You saw it in one of the videos. Dang, dragonflies are so cool. Back to the point. But yeah, quite interestingly, every year the pond happened to drain. Like at some point during the summer, if the creek stopped running, water would start falling and falling and falling. And it would usually not run completely dry. There would usually be some left, especially in this section. But I sort of like, why is it leaking? Why is it leaking? What's going on? Well, as it turns out, that right under the creek, you can't really see it anymore. It's sort of slammed up. But just below here, probably sometime around the 1600s or so, because there's a ruin up on top that's from a farm from the 1600s. We'll go have a look a bit later on. But they made, well, in Norwegian it's called excavator, which is basically you put two rocks and a slab on top, and the water runs in between them, and you make a long ditch, and the water is sort of covered and it won't clog up, and it drains the surrounding area, which is quite practical. But of course, material fills on top. People forget that it was even there, and the only indication we actually had that, well, there was water coming out of the ground was the old well. I'll probably include some pictures or videos, which was also one of the first projects I did, because I didn't have the pond immediately and I didn't have the excavator, so I got my water from the well. Well, as it turns out, the well also got its water from the same ditch, and it's still under here somewhere, but of course it was also running down in the opposite direction. Well, guess where my pond was? It was straight in the middle of the ditch. So of course it was running out in that end. It was one time when I was sort of trying to figure out, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was digging around with the excavator in the bottom of the pond, and suddenly I hit something, and suddenly like the water dropped. Boom. That was exciting, but then I discovered the ditch, and yeah, I managed to clog it up, and now it seems like the pond remains fairly full. It still does lose a bit of water level if it's exceptionally dry for, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and it will start emptying. But yeah, I've sort of hooked up the pond to a pump station, which I showed in another video. A blanket's just on top to insulate it somewhat, because I've had problems with the pipe freezing. And yeah, I do have the foam insulation, and I also have those heated coils that you put around them, but if you're fighting with, well, I was trying to think like the conversion between Fahrenheit and Celsius, but then I realized it doesn't matter. Like on the coldest point, we may get fairly close to the point where it makes no difference. So that's like minus 30 Celsius, which I also think is minus 30 Fahrenheit or so. But yeah, haven't put too much priority into the road going up into the woods this way, even though this is where the Hobbit hole is. I guess that thing has an entire video of its own, but we have changed a few things on the inside. Ignore the refrigerator. I got the free refrigerator. There was a reason it was free. But it's nice. It has a few parts that I utilized. So, what do we have here then? We have my dad's electric wheelbarrow that I just stole. Started doing some pottery. The lathe is hidden under there somewhere. We'll get around to it in the winter when I don't have stuff to do on the outside. We also need to fix my table saw at some point. And yeah, various ceramic stuff, casting stuff. The kiln. Here's the nitric acid project, along with the silver nitrate, which, oh, would you look at this? Still quite a bit of copper in it, and I'm still not done dissolving everything I want. But we'll get back to that some later time. Here you see the various glass blowing torches, and the one we made ourselves. Now, let's see. Now, some of you might remember, the wind took off quite a bit of the moss on the roof, and transplant a bit from this side, because this side was completely intact, and I'll be putting some more back on, and I'll put the new tarpaulin over the top, and it seems to be fine now, but the floor is still a bit moist, and I suspect it has most to do with the drainage right there. So we need to dig that quite a bit deeper, make a proper trench, and then stuff more dirt up along the side, so that we make dirt and clay, just to make sure that it runs off in that direction, and maybe also continue the ditch across the road and get it down there somewhere, because there's on top of it there's quite a large bog, and you can sort of see, like, even if it's been dry for a few days now, you can still see this quite a bit of moisture just running out of the rocks. It's probably still dripping over here. More windfallen trees. I just keep going. View's nice though. Can't complain about that. And also in general, the terrain's pretty nice. Just wish the trees wouldn't fall over all the time. And you can sort of see the top end of the creek. But yeah, let's continue on. Now we are reaching the end of my property and eastward direction. You can see I'll put some cobbles right here to indicate where the line goes. Now, surprisingly, I have found something, and it's not something you find every day. Can you see it? I found a bridge! Like, how often do you do that? Don't find a bridge every day. What? So I would really like to tidy this thing up and figure out how the heck it worked in the past, because it makes absolutely no sense. Just have a look at this. Looking down in this direction, it leads to absolutely nowhere, and in this direction it leads to absolutely nowhere. Now, admittedly, the trees may have fucked up the terrain a bit, so it may not actually be that representative of the way it used to be, but there's still like ground rock protruding in ways that it just doesn't make sense. But it does make a quite neat cut through my property line. I sort of end up owning half of it, but I know the folks that owns the rest, and they're probably fine with me cleaning up the rest. So that's a nice project for the future. We just have to remove all of those windfallen trees so that we can get the excavator up around here. Now, I think we should just have a walk through this. Let me... Oh, we're all the way soon now. Alright, let's keep going then. Alright. I don't have a thimble. Oh yeah, this is nice. So I kind of want to show you the ruin of the old farm. I did show it in an older video, but for reasons I've taken down that video. Yeah, crazy. So this is sort of the foundation. And presumably they had animals down here. I would guess sheep, because this is Norway and we have sheep. Maybe goats, I don't think they would fit cows. Oh, maybe. But yeah, then you would put your house on top of it and the heat from the animal would just go up through the floor and passively heat your house, which is a neat concept. Other than that, it probably does smell a bit like shit. And if you turn around in this direction, oh, what is this? Well, this is what I would refer to as root cellar, or around these parts, putekällare. But yeah. It is actually quite roomy inside. I can wiggle my arms around. But also some gigantic spiders in there. So I think we'll avoid those for now. Now, none of this is actually my property, it's just some cool scenery. I've always enjoyed this view. And there are some, like way over there, there are some remnants of an Iron Age shed. I think that's the best description. Like a tool shed, like a storage, but it's not really all that much to see. Heading back to my property. Let's see. I believe I put some sticks around here somewhere. Yeah, the sticks. You see them? Now it continues on in this direction. And yeah, we can see the remnants of the stage after the festival this year. I've forgotten to take down the top Poland, maybe I should do that. Because that's not ideal. But yeah, it's quite a nice stage. Technically, it's not the first one. The first year, we made that one. But after the logging company, it cut down all the trees on the neighbor's property. It got a bit exposed. So I made an entirely new one, right over here. And it's also the spot where I get rid of most of the thin branches that because I don't have a chipper to maybe make one of those at some point. But yeah, for the most part, it's mostly been jams and like friends of my friends and stuff like that. There we go. Stop wobbling. There we go. Should have done this a long time ago. But you fuck around and do nothing, you end up with nothing. Holy tarpoli. Where's this connected now then? Okay, we have those two. What's going on here then? Alright. I'll figure it out. Ugh, wobbly. There we go. No, wait, let me do this one first. Oh, wasn't even connected. Connected, attached. I will excuse myself by stating that English is my second or possibly third, by some argument, language. Oh, yay! No. Yay! I was about to say it took 5 years. Oh yeah. But yeah, now you can sort of see what's going on. Stage, frame, tarpaulin was supposed to be over the top, just for some roofing, with speakers hidden under there. And then we would just rig up drum kits, amplifiers. We've had organs dragged up into the woods. Now I do technically own quite a bit further in this direction, but I never actually go there, so continue onwards to the places where I actually do something. There's the remnants of the tree from the spring video. Here we can see the wood workshop that never gets finished, because every time I start up again the excavator breaks. And you can see all the logs from trees I've cut down and collected. Too long for me to carry, and I'm not getting them on my sawmill. Now the sawmill is an entire story in of itself, which I'll save for another time. I think this is what they should have had on the Burning Man festival. And here you can see a chill out spot from the festival. And here's one of the other projects that I sort of never finished. I don't know if you can see it, but there's supposed to be some kind of snake, and you can sit on the snake all the way around the fire pit. I do have a video of when I made most of this, but then I also lost quite a bit of it. And then a wind blew over the trees and just ended up smashing the entire roof. And now I sort of, because after I built it, it turns out the pond is kind of trickling a bit through. So ideally I would like to move everything about the meter in this direction. And also probably scale it down a bit. Well, we've always filled it up, that's no problem, but I think it's a bit inefficient space utilization wise. Oh, also found a giant block of quartz. Maybe make something cool out of that. So now, what's left? I guess we have to go say hi to the chickens. Maybe they're outside. That's a new firewood spot. Hey Ben! What's clucking? Oh, I'm not. Hey guys! What's going on? Hello! Hi, man. What's clucking? But yeah, they have a nice little coop. You've seen it in other videos. Technically made by my dad. He also helped me with this, pouring the concrete on this thing. He also helped me out with the roof and the walls. Technically this door is his pattern, though it's also a bit janky, but that's not unusual. So if you can see, there's just a rail. And there's some wheels on the inside so you can push it around down to the bottom. There's some gullies that it runs through, and also lets water run from the upside to the low side. Completely not a mess here at the moment. I've been turning up some drumsticks and stuff to threads. Trying to fix the excavator, trying to mow the lawn. And you can see the tool cabinet. I think it's fairly neat. I do enjoy things that sort of just fold open and has everything in one spot. There's some saws supposed to hang right there. I'm a bit unorganized at the moment. And yeah, all of this sort of folds in like that. It's just fun. Quite efficient. I would have liked to show the inside. I think I'll save that for another video. And instead I'll regale you with the story of, why is this window different? So my, at the time, girlfriend and I were laying in bed, and she was like, "There's a noise outside." And I was like, no, you're in the woods. There's always some kind of noise. And she was like, no, there is something outside. And I was like, no. But then I sort of did pay attention, and I noticed, wait, this is actually a new sound. And it sort of sounded like something was knocking against a window. Well, when I opened my front door, guess what? Turns out Hawk sitting right in the garage. And I was like, whoa! And I threw a jacket over him and put him into my toilet. Well, not the actual toilet, but a bathroom. And while I was figuring out what to do with him. And I did get some pictures, which was nice. But as I was about to let him go, well, don't interrupt. I'm telling a story. But no, as I was taking him outside, as I got to the hallway, one of his talons came loose and buried itself rather deep inside of my stomach. And so I completely lost him while trying to sort of pull him out. I could feel him pushing out from the inside, which is an odd experience. But yeah, he promptly let go and started flying towards the only opening he saw, which technically wasn't an opening, but my window. And since this cabin, well, technically the cabin is actually two barracks from two Nazi barracks from World War II. That's some mason that, story in a story, probably not good. Hawk crashed out the window, and since these are single pane glass, just knocked it straight out and crushed on the ground. So now it's a certain plexiglass thingy covering it. But yeah, about the story of what is the origin of the cabin. Well, there used to be a mason in a small municipality close by, and he had a knack for not charging for his work. He was always kind of like, oh no, it's fine, no, don't think about it. Well, obviously he went bankrupt, but people felt sort of pity for him, so I don't know how it got together, but somehow he ended up with this property. And he used to live in a, well, he had a, what do you call it? Like a boat cabin, but it's a steering. Oh, someone let me know in the comment what that's called. The building on a boat that contains the steering deck is sort of. Well, anyways, he had one of those while he made a foundation, and this was right after World War II. And there's a fort made by Nazis a bit west of here, and there were like barracks still remaining after the war. So he got 2 of those, and they took them apart, put them on the back of a carriage and pulled them up by a horse. And then he lived in a boat cabin, steering house thing while he made the foundation and rebuilt. Well, he took 2 barracks and joined them together in the middle and ended up with this thing. And since he was a mason, the only impressive thing about this whole cabin, I guess, is technically the chimney. Because he did put... He did actually put a modicum of craftsmanship in that thing. But yeah. I should certainly consider a coat of paint. But I've been putting it off for 5 years now, so what's 5 more? Thanks for watching.